pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record reflect that one of our board members is missing this evening, Mr. Chad. Principal's report. She can go first today.
I got a 2-for-1.
Oh, you got a 2-for-1,
Mr.
okay.
Hayes did a doctor appointment, so he sent me his
Okay.
update as well. So for the Gilbert campus, the Nell Sheen Spring Sing is at 1:30 this Friday. 7th grade orientation is coming up the last full week of the year, where 6th graders come up to the 7th grade and take a tour and learn about 7th grade. The safety patrols and the Nell Sheen Student Council are going to Valley Fair on the 26th. They go every year as a reward for their hard work. And science MCAs are wrapping up this week, and then the Gilbert campus will be done with testing for the year. For the high school, we have quite a few events coming up, some field trips. Mr. Bird is taking the 11th graders to the Sedan Underground Mine this week, Wednesday. Next week on the 17th, Janine Bauman is taking her child development class to the Virginia Hospital. Mr. Strasser takes the physics class to Physics Day at Valley Fair. This year it's on the 18th. We are completely done with MCAs and ACTs here at the senior high. The AccuPlacer takes place on Thursday. That's the test for students to qualify for college credit in those classes here. And then we'll be done with testing for the year. On Tuesday the 24th, we invite you to come to our senior awards program at 11 a.m. here in the high school auditorium. That afternoon, incoming freshmen, our 8th grade class, will come over for orientation activities here with us. Mrs. Forsman, our school counselor, is starting something new with orientation this year. They'll be assigned to some orientation leaders who will be seniors next year. They will be trained in how to do that, and they will meet with those new freshmen throughout the year next year for some specific activities and check-ins. So we thank her for her organization there. Graduation is on Thursday, June 2nd. It's at 7 p.m. We invite the school board to join us on stage and ask you to come between 6:30 and 6:45 so we can help you with your corsage and get you in line. As with every year, you sit on the stage with Mr. Carey and I and smile and look nice.
I'll be there.
Thank you. If you will be there, please let me know so we make sure we have a chair for you ready to go on the stage. And that's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Carey.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're also done with our MCAs and things went really well this year. And early results came in and looked pretty good, so I'm pretty excited to see that. We have a number of field trips coming up. On the 13th, the patrols are going to the Edge as their end of the year reward. On the 18th, the 3rd grade's going to the aquarium. 20th, the 1st grade's going to the Blue Zoo. Also on the 20th, the 2nd grade's going to the Forest History Center. On the 24th and 25th are our track and field days. 24th will be the younger kids and the 25th the older ones. And on the week of June 1st, we're actually going to, I haven't told Mrs. Sebo this yet, but we're going to try a couple virtual field trips. See how that goes. Just relax over there. And then also on June 1st is award day. When I'm talking about I'm going to put a plug in for our PTA. Most of our field trips are paid for by that group, and they had a meeting. All 4 of the officers are graduating this year, and they had a meeting to try to find replacements, and they've been sending out memos on their Facebook page, and nobody's stepped up so far, so they're kind of in danger right now, so we're hoping to recruit somebody. If anyone needs information, come see me. Mike, I'm not advocating that you be that person, even though you have kids in the elementary.
Oh, blackmail.
Isn't it a conflict of interest on the school board?
No, not at all.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
You go.
Okay, student reps, who would like to go first.
Last week on Wednesday, the freshmen and a selected few of the upperclassmen went on the field trip to the cities to see the Diary of Anne Frank, then continued to go to the Emmon History Museum, and it went great.
Okay, thank you.
And there's like 17 days left of school, which I think is pretty exciting, but
What are you gonna do?
Who's
all
counting,
summer?
Cry.
You'll be bored.
I'm gonna wait for school.
Yeah, okay. Okay, is that all?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. 5.0 achievement recognition.
That's you.
All right. This is our second year submitting works of art to the Minnesota State High School League Visual Art Competition. It's quite a lot of work to prepare those things. The art teacher has to haul them to the contest ahead of time. They have to be matted a certain way, described. So they put in a lot of time and effort to get these things ready, and I want to thank Deb Custer right off the bat for the time she put into that. 15 student works of art were submitted to the section competition. 11 of those were awarded an excellent rating, and 2 received the highest award of superior. Emily Haugen and Christian Moore, both juniors here with us, received those superior ratings this year, so congratulations to them.
Okay. Okay, moving on. 6.0 agenda additions or deletions.
I do not have any tonight.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Visitor input. Anyone who would like to address the board? Now would be the time if step up there and state your name and get a few minutes, and as long as it's not on the agenda, something fresh, something new. Now's your time. Now's your 5 minutes of glory. Okay, moving on then. Thank you. Approve the agenda.
So moved.
I need a second.
Support.
Mr. Gentilini. Any questions or additions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.0, approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Monday, April 25th. A motion and a second.
So moved.
Motion by Leon, second.
Second.
Okay, same people. Tom, okay, thank you. Any discussions or changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10.0, business affairs. 10.1, the treasurer's report for the month of April and the first check writing of May. Leon?
For the month of April, we have receipts of $1,489,848.97. Disbursements of $836,068.32. Payroll, $646,236.81. For the first check writing of May, we only have disbursements of $123,071.62. I make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report.
You need a second?
Support.
Support by Peterson. Okay. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11.0, new business. Approve the summer band program.
You want to say a word about that?
The only change to the normal summer band request is that a few years back, he wanted to set up a trip to Valley Fair to march down there. Quite a few bands do that over the summer. Got it in too late, and so was told that the next time he wanted to do that, to submit it with his proposal. The last year, maybe 2 years, he has participated in an exchange band program and hasn't had the time to do that. So that is on there for this year.
So we need a motion and a second.
This is all funded on community ed too.
Community ed?
Yeah. Youth enrichment fund and community, home
So it's your pleasure.
So moved.
Motion by Sean Love,
No second.
second by Mr. Forty. Any discussion? Hearing none?
Yeah, I think it's nice for our band to get out there into the public.
Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11.2, approve the annual membership of the Minnesota State High School League.
This is an annual membership that gets renewed every year, about this time. It is for the upcoming school year. The fees did not increase this year. It's still at $2,900.
Okay, need a motion in a second?
I'll move.
Okay.
Support.
Motion by Crystal, support by Gentilini. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11.3, approve the memorandum of understanding regarding teacher evaluation and development.
This is another thing that we've gone through the last few years. I think this is the third year of the teacher evaluation program that the state has mandated on us, and we've had to come up with a plan, and then every year we meet and tweak that plan according to how things went in the course of the year. And it was actually a pretty short meeting this year. I think we had a pretty good year with the teacher group, and things went pretty smoothly, so there were no changes at all this year. We're going to continue on as we did this year.
Yeah, but we still
It
have
just
to
needs to be renewed every year.
renew with the MOA. Okay.
So there's no changes to
Or
last
MOU,
year,
right.
right? That's what you're saying.
Okay.
What kind of cost?
They get $100 per peer evaluation, so it's, how many evaluations do they do?
We spent, as of 4:30, so far we've spent about $2,400.
Okay.
And there's still some coming in.
Yeah, and
I don't
we do
know how
get a little bit of money from the state for that purpose. What did we get last year, 10,000? I think it was 10,000 we got
I think
last year
somewhere
for
in
the
there.
purpose of evaluation, so we don't go over that.
Okay. So we need a motion in a second.
I'll move.
Okay. Motion by Putzel,
Support.
support by Shanlab. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11.4, approve the HOPE program for the 2016-17 school year.
Give me a sec there, Chief.
Sure.
This is a program that we presented to you earlier. The state sent us an updated form, so nothing about the program itself changed, just where things were and what had to be typed up had to be redone and submitted, and the program itself was approved by the state. So this will primarily be for 10th and 11th grade students who have struggled in 9th or 10th grade, need some help getting back on track and back into their regular program. So hopefully by their junior or senior year, they don't need the program anymore and are back on track. We have 16 students who have heard about it through reading things in the paper and are already on the waiting list.
Are they all hours?
What other things do we do for program-wise for students that fall behind? We have summer school.
We have summer school and we have night school, and between the two of those, they can only make up 1 credit a year, and that's just a funding state issue. Right now, those are run through the NLC. If this program is approved, both night school and summer school can be run through our alternative learning program. And we do also have the online credit recovery, where students go to that class, they learn how to take an online credit, they get help from a teacher. It's a sharp learning curve of how to navigate through online learning, and it's not for everybody. You have to be pretty self-directed to be successful in online learning. So that's been a great thing for some students, not for these kids. They're still falling behind.
What changes in the requirements for them to get those credits? Are they held to the same standard as everybody else if they go through this program?
Yes, they have to have they're still getting an Ellis Gilbert High School diploma. They're still part of our school. It's a school within a school, essentially. So they still have to meet all of our high school graduation requirements, follow all of our policies, all those things. They're just getting it into a face-to-face delivered curriculum instead of sitting and trying to navigate online or leaving us to go online because they think that'll be easier, or leaving to go to a charter school, for instance, where they have less graduation credits required.
My only question has been, and it continues to be, how we lose them in the first place. How we can't help them before we have to invest in a program. I mean, are these kids that are choosing not to come to school? Are they choosing not to do homework? Are they, and I'm gonna use the word loosely, but are these the lazy kids that have the ability and so they will succeed in this program, but they don't have anybody pushing them? I mean, I'm still not clear
There's
who they are.
no hard and fast answer there. Programs like these across the state are used for a variety of students. The student who chooses not to come to school is not gonna do well in here because one of their, probably the biggest requirement is attendance. If you're not gonna show up and do the work, you won't be allowed to remain in the program. And again, it's not just academics, it's study skills, post-secondary vision planning, so they know what's out there and we have a goal set for them and they have a reason to get through high school and get that diploma. Why do kids fail? Again, that's no hard and fast answer there either. A lot of the things that are getting in their way are outside of here and they need a boost from within here to get back on track. We can't control what happens outside of school.
Did you say there's a waiting list?
There's 16 kids already that have expressed an interest in this program, or families.
And that's the maximum we can take?
We have said the maximum is 20.
Okay.
Again, this hasn't really been made hugely public yet. They've read about it, heard about it. It was in the paper after a board meeting, something was said about it, things like that. So word of mouth is spreading.
Do you think that's a good response? Having 16?
I do. Again, you're still going to have to be screened and make sure they're a good fit for this program. They have to want it. They have to want to be in school and want to graduate and want to succeed.
So if we were to get more than 20, is there?
We would have to cap it there and put them on a waiting list. So if a student
So is
didn't
it?
need the program anymore, then there would be room for another one.
But initially now, is it first come, first served, or is there some screening process to
There is
determine
a
which of
screening
the?
process, and if you remember, that was part of our original program application, that they had to be in need, they had to be a candidate who would be successful in that program. So that's not to say that students with poor attendance wouldn't be considered, but if they don't start to come to school and honor this opportunity, they wouldn't be in that program for long.
Now, I know we've already identified, or the administration has already identified a staff member to take this on.
No, it would have to be posted.
Well, there was a name on there because there had to be one on the application,
Okay.
but no, that process.
So if we take someone from in-house, then we're looking at replacing a position also in most cases, correct?
Correct.
So do we know what the overall cost will be for this program for a
It
one-year
would be
period?
that one teacher position.
It's gonna be in the range of 60 to 65,000 for that teacher. That's assuming that's somebody that has some experience and takes full benefits. This isn't really a place we'd put a brand new teacher. Wouldn't be much of a point to have in the program if it's not gonna run successfully.
But so this, I mean, just so we all know, this is new spending.
Yep.
I guess my only hesitation is why I ask, like, what other options we have for kids that aren't making it. You just listed off, we have night school, we have summer school, we have an online program. All those come to a cost, I'm assuming, to the district.
Yep.
And,
Well, yes and no. Some of that is running through special ed.
And students who go into those programs and students enrolled in this alternative learning program can generate more than one ADM.
but I
So
guess,
there is some
There
reimbursement
would be additional
possible.
money coming in, yes.
I guess my point is that we haven't even got a preliminary budget for next year, other than to ask the administration to try to make cuts, and we're talking about adding a new expense. And I mean, at this stage, I think it would only be prudent to postpone this until we figure out what our budget looks like before we start adding to it. That's just my point of view on the matter, I guess.
Well, with that in mind, what kind of deadline do we have for approving this to move forward?
In order to find a qualified staff member and get these kids enrolled in the program and have their schedule set for next year, I would hesitate to wait too much longer.
Could we wait till the end of the month, next meeting? I'm just asking a question.
It wouldn't be my preference. Again, I mean, I'd lose contact with these kids over the summer, so. Those initial intake meetings would need to happen soon, and those can happen without having that teacher in place yet.
I guess I would have to agree with Mike on that. We need to know what our budget's gonna be. Exactly how much are we gonna have to shave and where. Cutting the 500,000 like Jeff had proposed to us, I just don't know where the cuts are gonna come. I just wanna know, where's it gonna be?
I mean, at this stage, we're taking from this group to that group, and, I mean, the conversation's been that we're, you know, cut teachers in elementary, but then give a teacher to a high school, and, I mean, I'm not saying that that's how it's gonna be, but I'm just saying that that's the conversations that we're looking at, and that's the way everything's evolving, so I think before we approve new spending, I think we gotta figure out what our current spending is.
But I think at the same time, I mean, when you consider that this is one of the areas, and it's not all, one of the areas that we are losing students to. I mean, this is a response to trying to stem that tide. I mean, what if those 16 kids don't come to school next year because they're so far behind?
That'd be equivalent.
Then what have you said?
That would be equivalent to about what the cost is for a teacher.
No, it'll be about 3 teachers.
For the 16 students? Oh, 16, okay, I'm thinking 8, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, what's the board's pleasure?
It seems to me we've identified a group of students that need help with their education. And I think it's worth the trial for a year to see what the results are. So I'm going to move that we approve the whole program for the upcoming school year.
Do we have a second?
I think I'll second that. I feel it's worthwhile too.
Right.
It's a 1-year thing that, I mean, we can revisit it next year, and if we didn't retain anybody, we can show data on that. I mean, if it didn't work, then it didn't work. Don't do it following year.
And I would assume that if the 16 kids were to drop out in the middle of the year, it would cancel it out anyway, right?
We still have a teacher under contract.
But you still have a teacher contract, yeah.
Well, I mean, that being said, I mean, we have a night school, summer school, and online. I mean, what's our retention rates and success rates on those programs? I mean, we just name those, but we don't have any metrics there either. But yeah, we're gonna throw some arbitrary metric at a year from now.
Those programs
They're not face to
they're
face.
designed, one, they aren't run through our school. The online is, but the night school and the summer school are not. They're run through the NSC. And by state mandate, they can only receive 1 credit per year, per calendar year. So, I mean.
For clarification, would this be a full complement of credits?
Could be.
This,
Yes,
Program.
with additional credit recovery.
I mean, if you're in 11th grade and you're down 5 credits already, I mean, you're not gonna get there in night school.
No. They're very
But I
limited.
guess to Mona's point, how did they get that far already anyway?
Well, I mean, there's, like Dad said, I mean, there isn't a cookie cutter answer to that question. I mean, lots of kids are in lots of different situations.
And we don't have a crystal
Some of
ball.
it's way out of our control.
Well, anyone else?
Like Jeff said, it does retain the kids staying in the district.
We don't know that, I asked that.
Yes, it does. I mean, we don't know that.
We don't,
It's something to try.
Mrs. Sebo, is it appropriate for us to ask for a report at the end of each marking period? Would that give us any information? Is there any way that we can obtain information if this program goes forward that would help us to understand its success, or is it a
I'm sure
larger
we could
time
find some
frame?
information to bring back for you. Credits aren't assigned until the end of the semester, other than accelerated credit recovery things, so we could come to you with
We could
how many
give 'em-
students are enrolled,
We
and
could
how
give them
attendance
enrollment data,
is,
though,
you
yeah, I
know.
mean, all the attendances and.
And then
If
perhaps
we
at
can
the end of the semester, if we can
Mhm.
find out what kind of success rate we've had, I think,
Absolutely.
rather than waiting until the end of a program, it would be nice to know at that point, not that we could perhaps change anything, but it might help us to have data going forward.
I know it's gonna affect the budget, but I still think that
Well, we may
We
have to
gotta-
find this amount of money somewhere else.
we'll have to, I
Said you're
don't wanna
checking
turn the
something.
kids away. That's, bricks and mortar don't educate the kids, teachers do. And I'm not gonna throw a kid away. So I would support it at this time, at least to try it. I know it's gonna affect the budget, but I don't wanna see any teachers compromised because of this in the lower grades, so.
Do we have a very specific job description for this, for the teacher's position for this program?
As part of the program that was approved, the job description is a piece of that.
Okay.
And the requirements there would be special education licensure, multiple content area licensure, and or previous experience in an alternative learning program.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Passes 5-1.
We'll pass that out.
May I address Mrs. Siebel briefly?
Yes.
Mrs. Siebel, first of all, thank you. With what we know about it right now, I think we're fortunate that we don't have to deal with this every day in our own homes. But anything you can bring to us going forward that'll help us to better understand what kind of progress is being made or student numbers, I think would be good, especially if that list starts to grow.
And probably some more information on what that program is really like and what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Before we move on, I forgot to read my little note here about video recording. So I'll say it now. I forgot to do it at the beginning. We greatly appreciate that people are interested in our proceedings, and we acknowledge that public meetings may be recorded either by audio or video equipment. However, it should be noted that any unauthorized version aired publicly may have been edited. Only those recordings displaying the logo of EG Schools are deemed to be official and unedited. We have to run from gavel to gavel, so just to let you know. So I will be announcing this, hopefully next time I'll do it at the beginning of the meeting. So, moving on to 11.5, discussion on Chickagami lease.
You ready?
No, but we'll do it.
All right, so, been in discussions with Chris Ishmael from the IIIB, and they are right now of the mind that they would like to give our current lease a grant to cover the cost of what it is currently costing us to have that building open. With that in mind, and I haven't agreed to anything, I just put together what that would look like, and this is what's in front of you right now. I'll move over to page 2 just to show you what the changes are. So under number 7, the district shall be responsible for. In the past, we have taken care of the grounds, we've done snow removal, grass and whatnot. And I put, will be reimbursed for those services at $50 an hour now. But I'm trying to make this where it doesn't cost us anything to have that open. So. Number 8, structural repair and maintenance of all heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical equipment and fixtures, including ballast, repair and maintenance of all personal property, equipment and fixtures. And right down the row there, that used to be, well, A for sure, but used to be under number 7, we were responsible for that. That makes them now responsible. B through F, they were responsible from before. On the next page, on page number 3, number 11, the lessee shall pay the district as rent the sum of $2,600 per month. That covers all utilities and insurance. We also put there's a sentence in there that says due to the fluctuations in the cost of natural gas, utility costs charged to the leasing may increase, so as things go up, if we get overcharged, we would pass that on to them as well. One of the things that I asked for, as I've been talking to Chris, is if we do come to terms with this, that the bond money that we received 3 years ago, which has a termination date of October 2nd, I did ask him to extend that, if that would be a possibility if we made this agreement. As of about 3 o'clock, the last time I talked to him today, the problem that they have is it's not an IRRB grant, it's actually a bond that was dispersed, so they don't have full control over that, so their lawyer is looking into that right now. So as of this moment right now, that agreement isn't in place. So. I'm not asking you to approve this tonight, I just want to take a first look, have a conversation about it, so. That's my part. Go ahead.
What is the duration of this?
Could be 1 year.
That's what I have
And
trouble
there's
with.
also on number 11, it says that rent isn't paid within 2 weeks of the first day of each month, the district reserves the right to immediately terminate the lease. That sentence is put in there as well. I know how you feel about that.
Where does it say the end date? See the first.
There's no end date in there as of this time on this draft. That would be for you guys to decide, but what they're looking at is
I'd say last year we gave an extension based on a letter of support from the city of Leavenworth. That obviously we know where that went. If the IRRB is truly willing to support them, I think we should have a letter of support from the IRRB on behalf of Chickagami. And as a public notice, I would think it would almost, I don't understand why the IRRB is granting an entity that has competition within the Taconite district. I thought that was part of their mantra, that they didn't support entities that had local competition. We have 2 commercial daycares in Virginia. And I think this would be a bad precedent for Taconite money, in my opinion, but it might be because it's a nonprofit, I don't know, but it raises an eyebrow. But I would say at the very least, it would be nice to have a letter of support from the IRRB. I mean, talk is cheap and...
With an end date.
With an end date.
Yep.
Because I want them to keep moving forward to looking for a building of their own, or whatever we're gonna do. But
we've been,
I've been on this board for 24, whatever years. And for the last 10 years, we've been granting an extension every year, or every other year. I have a real problem with another 1-year lease, because the Chickagami, they ask for a month-to-month lease.
yep,
I would be willing to look at that,
That's fine.
but because I don't want it to seem like we're not gonna do anything again. It's just gonna keep extending and extending and extending, and nothing ever gets accomplished. So maybe that would keep the people who are trying to help Chickagami actually get in there and actually help them. I mean, how long has Chickagami been in that building, do you know?
Since the early 90s.
Since the early 90s?
The first lease was 89, I believe.
Was it 89?
I believe so.
That was the original one with Head Start, right?
That's my only put on it. I think it should stay as a month-to-month lease. And I agree, we should have something from the IRRB. They're putting the money out there.
Should be in writing.
Last year.
I also think we need to confirm this 2,600.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was gonna be my next one, but last year, I mean, it was the city of Evlith that wrote us a letter asking for the extension. Chickagami didn't even ask for the extension.
And they still are.
Right, I mean, and now this year, we know that the city of Evlith has rescinded their support. I mean, that's the last we officially, maybe it's not officially, but we've heard from the city of Evlith. And now for the IRRB was backing kind of the city of Evlith last year at this point, and now one of the players backed out. I think at the very least, we should get a letter of support from an entity that's gonna show that there's gonna be help for them to actually engage in another month-to-month lease for a year. I mean, at this stage, Chickagami's come before us and said that they can't afford anything more than they do. So, I mean, not to be hard about it, is that unless we have something in writing, nothing's changed. Because they told us themselves that they can't afford to pay anything more than they're paying. And
Well, we've also had issues with communication.
absolutely.
You ask for something and you either don't get it or you get the litany of excuses for why you can't have it.
Or why you didn't get it.
I mean, we've asked for a list of key players, the key staff, meaning the director and whoever the main staff might be, and the board of directors, which we've never seen.
And I asked that.
And every time we talk to someone, we get, oh, well, we have new people and now we can't commit to that because they're gone and we have. While I get all of that, it's done. Those days are over. Somebody at Chickagami has to take responsibility. And if they say something, it's time for them to stick to it. And when they tell us that they need 6 months or 1 year or whatever the period of time is, because we've heard every version, they need to be doing something instead of us always hearing from third parties bailing them out. If you want to stay in business, you've got to take action. And I think to constantly, we're not having communication with Chickagami. Our communication is with the city of Evlith and now with the IRRB.
Right, yeah.
And yet, when push comes to shove,
It's our building.
it's still coming out of our pocket. And then when the parents are upset because of a misworded letter, we're still the bad guys, even though we're the only ones that are bending over backwards.
This is kind of why, I mean, I have a little bit of hesitation towards this whole new deal, if we want to call it that, or pitch, is we passed unanimously in December, I believe it was, our intention to not renew the lease. We basically gave 6 months notice.
7 months.
7 months notice to the families that this impact. If we enter into a month-by-month lease, I mean, that's almost unfair for the families that use the services, because what if they don't flip the bill, and then they don't even have a month notice, you know, that they have to vacate? I mean, that's gonna fall back on us. We give a 7-month notice to the families. Obviously, Chickagami isn't doing a very good job communicating with their customers, for lack of a better way to say it, and we did the best that we could. And that's what I said. I mean, it would pain me to say that, you know, once we get into this new deal and every month by month, and they don't come up with the funds because the city of Evlith led them astray again, and the IRRB politics and bureaucracy changed there, and then they're left out on their own. What are we going to do then? When I mean, it could be in the middle of the winter. We're going to put families out that are using a daycare service.
Nobody wants to see Chickagami fail.
Absolutely.
But I think it's time for tough love. And I think it's time to say, we want you to succeed, but you have to do this on your own. It's time to be adults, and if you want to be in business, then you've got to do something about it. You can't keep relying on everybody else.
I'm more worried about the families that use the service right now more
Which
than
is why we made the
Chickagami.
motion when we did.
Right.
Yeah.
And we made that statement at that time.
This gives you ample notice to, I mean, for the 60-some families that are in there, I mean, I would say maybe it's time to start a cooperative and solicit other daycares for a satellite daycare to come into Evlith, because
But if any business wants to stay alive,
they need to be on their tool.
then they need to be looking at those cooperatives. It's time for us to get out of the daycare business.
Absolutely, I agree. And to my next point about, I mean, what it costs us to put heat in that building, I mean, we're using a generic formula for square footage there, aren't we, from our steam plant? We don't have a meter on that building. We don't know how much it truly costs. It could be more, it could be less based on the square footage.
I think that building's actually,
We have used the
should we
same
get?
formula from past foremans for the last number of years. We've used the same, and I can look at the bill. There's not a meter, I don't believe, exactly on that natural gas.
That's what I'm saying, we're talking about true costs here going forward. I think we gotta know, I mean, that Manual Arts building, I mean, I went in there this winter and it was 300 degrees in there. We know that we were putting a lot more heat in there than we were in a classroom, you know? I mean, to the same point, I mean, it could be more, it could be less, but we just don't know what the true cost of the utilities are in that building. And that would be one thing that I think we would need to address, is get a better idea of what, like I said, it could be less. I mean, it could be in their favor, it could be.
The electric and water are definitely separate. The variable would be the natural gas.
So that's what I would say. I mean, we need something showing support from somebody that's gonna show sustainability for the next agreement, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it.
No matter how long it is.
Right, whether it's a month or whether it's,
Well, the last
Sure.
conversation with Chickagami, the request was to the end of 2016, so December of 2016, and now we're looking at a year. So
In the 27th.
this is already going beyond what they had even asked for themselves. And, I mean,
Wow.
every time this comes up, and we had also, the most recent conversation was month to month. So we've gone from, we only need until December and then we promise, and then it's, well, we'll do month to month. Well, no, that's not maybe what we want to do, and maybe we need to be looking at a year. And regardless of why the reasons are in place, I mean, we understand that there's family notifications, we get all of that, but again, it's time to come up with a plan.
I mean, the ironic thing was a year ago, they wanted the original extension to go till December 2016.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The original request
A
from
year ago.
Chickagami was
Yeah.
just
And
give
then-
us till the end of 16. Well, now here we are looking at
The
the
goalpost
summer of
changes.
17.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Has Chickagami looked this over, Jeff?
No. Nope.
And
I
then
shared with you guys first.
And then if you did go on a month-to-month basis, what kind of time element would you give vacation?
There was something
4
else.
weeks. I mean, that'd have to be looked at too, wouldn't it?
Well, that's.
You're absolutely correct, but I think we've reached a point where that burden falls on their shoulders rather than ours, because I think we've made as many accommodations as we should.
Well, that's,
So if it goes month by month, that falls on the shoulders of someone else.
well, that's what we said, and that's what we know, but, I mean, they were the ones that wrote a letter saying that this
No, that's true.
With Gilbert School
Yeah.
System was closing them and.
Yeah,
I mean,
kicking them out, yeah, you're
Call all
right.
the board members, here's their name and phone numbers, signed by generic board members of the Chickagami. There was no list, and like I said, I asked them that one day when they came, and we still never got a list in contact of who the direct board members are of the organization. We still don't even know who we're talking to other than the IRRB. I mean,
Well, they have not the IRRB, but Chickagami has asked to be put on the agenda every month.
It's turning into every meeting, so.
So, but they actually got up at the last meeting, which was the last meeting of April, and spoke. And I'm sure they'll be on the agenda for the next meeting. This is just information as far as I'm getting it from Jeff. And it says in the contract on the second page that the leasee can, or the leaser,
60 days.
60 days in written notice by the leasee to, if they want to,
That sentence was in the last one, we
Yeah.
didn't change that.
yeah, okay.
I think we need to be looking at all of this and fine tuning it.
Well, it's the first
if we
time
go
we've
forward,
seen this, so we haven't had time to even read it, so.
Right.
I mean, the biggest thing I think everybody needs to keep in mind is whatever direction we go, and if we do somehow work this out to where we do an extension, I mean, here we are. I mean, we're not committing to Chickagami either. We're committing to all the families that use that service, because obviously
that's all it is.
we're the ones providing it, I mean, these people are on a roller coaster. I mean, and
Yeah,
I just think
I
that
agree.
they're kind of in a bad way, and somehow
But we didn't cause the
we
problem.
did not, absolutely. And that's my saying. We gave these people 7 months to find alternatives. And in the 11th hour, I mean,
And
nothing's changed. I mean,
Isn't there
really
still a
nothing's
meeting
changed.
for next week?
I believe, is it next week?
Isn't that still in place too?
Or
Or is that not?
That's gonna get rescheduled because the city backed out. There was, the facilitator had to back out of that.
But they
We'll get it rescheduled.
They weren't even really calling it a Chickagami, I mean, that they're calling it a community daycare meeting or
Right.
something. So we don't even know what the basis of that will be. Maybe it will be that they're finding is that Chickagami isn't a factor. Maybe it is, I don't know.
Well, I think we all need to review what we've been handed tonight, because it's the first time we're seeing it. And make your notes on,
Many notes and get them to Jeff as soon as
and
possible.
then we need to have a
Meeting
meeting.
again, yeah.
Well,
Before
Again.
Jeff does anything else.
we need some letters.
I mean,
of
considering
support.
that the last motion this board made was to cancel the lease or to not renew it,
Nothing's changed.
this is a lot of noise right now until we've had a chance to review it.
Well, not to
Because
mention,
that motion is still in play.
we don't know how this is gonna get funded without something in writing or support, right? So they've told us at our open meeting that they can't afford anymore, and there's no way that this
But
can
if it's
happen.
being funded by a third party, that's a little different story. But then I want some assurance that whatever the time frame of this is, that there is an end date and that it's ironclad, so that it doesn't continue.
A year ago, we got a letter of support from the city. I don't know why we couldn't get that from the IRRB this year.
Okay,
Well, I like the idea that they're covering the costs in this, covering the operating costs, and contribute toward the maintenance costs if they agree to it. I think a key issue is that you mentioned October 2nd with that bond that's out there. Whether or not that can be extended, to me, is critical to what we do with a month to month. I also like that part of the lease and the 60-day notice. That way it's not a 12-month lease, it's a month to month. But I would like to get an answer on that October 2nd date. I think that's critical.
And I still think we need some kind of stipulation as to what the end of this will be. Because month to month sounds fine, but if it's going to be 36 months from now, I'm not happy. I mean, if you're going to talk month to month, I'd like to think that,
Could be 10 years.
If we agree
again.
to the 10 years, I hope we don't.
But the whole thing is if you leave it open-ended, I mean, as we've seen with any board, I mean,
but even
They
with an
never-
exact end date, it doesn't end.
but you know what I'm saying? But it engages a conversation. If we didn't have an end date, to your point, I mean, we would never talk about this again, and it would just keep going, and the can would keep getting kicked, and, I mean, nobody would do anything, I mean, without some kind of generating a conversation. So I agree with Mona, I mean, there should be some kind of next end date, and it generates a conversation. I mean,
The boiler still running yet, Jeff, or is it shut down for the season?
Oh, they'll still run.
Still running yet? Maybe max 1 month from now? Before
It's
they shut
usually
down,
June
so-
before we shut them down.
Because we also need the boilers for heating the pools, right? The swimming program? Or is that closed
Well,
down?
it's just for heating, well, I mean, yes, it is, but we generally, I mean, on days like this, they shut them down for the day, but
Yeah. They'll
like the rest
change,
of the week, I'm guessing they're gonna be on, so.
they'll be on the rest of the week. Well, I guess we'll have to look this over each one of us and jot down some notes and.
Should we set a meeting date?
We should set it, yes, I think we should set a meeting to go over this building and grounds, I believe that should be.
Our next school board meeting is the 23rd, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe the 16th,
I can't.
17th,
I'm gone 17, 18.
19th.
I'm okay 19th.
I can do the 19th, I can make it
19th,
happen.
Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I can if it's at regular
What
time.
time? 5 would be
5.
better for me.
5 would be better for me
Mhm,
too.
me too.
On the 19th?
19th.
Oh, wait, 19, yeah, I'll be off.
At 5?
Yeah. I got a doctor's appointment that day. No, otherwise-
So, Tom can't do it 19th.
Okay, that doesn't work for Tom.
Work for me, but.
The only other date I have next week is Monday.
One said 16th, yeah.
Well, if you want to meet without me, I'm not going to hold the process up.
Sixteenth or 19th, take your pick.
I'm even good on the 20th.
Friday, yeah, right.
At 6:30, we'll meet you here, Leanne.
Okay.
Don't start with
AM.
those.
Well, no, at night, we'll be out in the parking lot waiting for you.
I don't think that Friday, I'm not gonna tie everybody
Trucks
up
and
for
boats waiting to head to the
Yeah.
lake, yeah.
Right.
I could do Tuesday, but it would be later. 6 or 6:30, I could make a later meeting on Tuesday.
You said you're gone 16 to the 18?
Yep.
Oh, Mom's gone then too, okay.
Well, if the majority of us can be here on the 19th, Tom said he's gonna be gone. The 19th works better for the rest of us.
Well, don't hold it up for me.
Okay.
I mean, whatever the board decides, it's a board decision, so.
Yeah, it's just a committee meeting, it's not a decision making.
Oh, okay.
At 5?
Yeah, 5 o'clock.
And then
Okay, moving on. 11.6, approve the first reading of the policies.
pass it around.
We have a couple.
The guide that's being passed around coincides with policy 206. It's, we've had a guide in our board book for some years that addresses public participation. The two changes that I made on there were on number 3, procedures, A1. It says, citizens who wish to have a subject discussed at the public board meeting are encouraged to notify the superintendent 5 days in advance. That's if you wish to have a subject discussed. On number 4, that more pertains to visitor input. So 5 minutes per topic, and then
And then on C for open forum,
there we go. 5 hours in advance of the school board meeting. So that was my version. I know that others have some other ideas, and that's fine. I'll take notes here.
I have a question, if makes sense, and I'll defer to Kathy to some degree on this one. On that section 3A1, where you've got the 5 days, we've run into problems in the past when we've even tried to set meetings, when we talk about days, when you include weekends and holidays and that kind of thing. Would it be appropriate to make it 5 business days?
Yeah. I think that
I mean-
coincides with the open meeting law posting requirements, is that weekends don't count.
Well, only
That's
because
always-
you couldn't sign up on a holiday or a weekend anyway.
Right.
And if, for example, like now with the Thursday meeting, you would have to sign up over that previous weekend. Well, that obviously can't happen, so if we made it,
The other thing is, and I don't remember the exact number, but there's one of the numbers that, this is limited to a regular school board meeting or a special meeting. Committee meeting, there is no public participation.
no, but we have had special meetings fall on another day of the week. They don't always fall on a Monday.
But
And
this
those you don't
actually
necessarily have
also,
to have visitor input on.
this also actually came off the MSBA.
It's on
Right.
206.
How does the guide that you just handed out relate to the policy 206? Will we have both of these?
Well, it's whatever the final version of 206 is, this is a sleeker version, just addresses the public input part.
This goes into a public book,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Or you
related,
don't have to have it at all. I mean, it
the
doesn't-
guide is just something to consider making part of the policy, or some parts of it?
Well, I would think that the language would have to match, right?
The language kind of has to match, so if you make a change in 206, we have to make it match.
Okay, there's a couple that I would like to see language changes.
All right, go ahead.
I like what's in the guide in the first sentence, where it says a value of comments. I think that's much better than participation. Participation implies entering into discussion. And I would like to see comments there instead of participation, because the 206 goes on to say participation by the public in deliberations and decisions. I would like to see comments instead of participation.
And
And,
exclude the deliberations and decisions?
well, that can
in
be,
206.
but I would actually prefer that to be out. Because the public should not be part of the discussions, the deliberations of the school board. They can make their comments. And in B, the policy says orderly and public discussion. I'd like to see discussion replaced with comments.
That's what this one shows, yeah.
Oh, just, he's referring to 206.
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
206,
Yeah.
1B, where it says discussion. I'd like to see that comments. And similarly, if going down into number 2, paragraph, item A, discussion by citizens in the first line. Again, comments, I think, should be in there.
Can you repeat that one, please?
Pardon?
Can you repeat that last one?
In 2A, in policy 206, the first 10 words end with, to encourage discussion by citizens.
Oh, your comments.
I would like to see comments by citizens. And the last 10 words or so of 2A, where it says public expression, again, going back to the guide, I would like to see public comments instead of expression. And then in order to facilitate balanced input rather than free discussion. I think those changes are appropriate. I like the verbiage in the guide in 1 and 2.
Did you have more, Mark? I had a couple, so I was just waiting for you to be done.
Yeah. And on
Dale.
2064,
You don't know,
Yeah,
I only got a couple more, then I'm done.
206 page 4, you said?
2064, I think we're up to, yes. Item 4, about a third of the way down. I don't know if I want to see it. I think that's good language. Any agenda item to a reasonable period of time as determined by the school board. The board retains the discretion to limit comments or whatever. And again, I think, in that changing discussion, wherever it appears, I would like to see comments instead of discussion. And that's it.
Mike?
Just to give, like Mark kind of just did, I don't know where it falls in on 206 because I didn't really have time to compare both of them, but if you look at the public participation at school board meetings that Jeff just handed out, on the first page, agenda items, A1, it says citizens who wish to have a subject discussed at a public school board meeting are encouraged to notice superintendent. I think we should put are required to notify the superintendent, because it leaves it open-ended that we didn't have to do it because it said it was encouraged. It doesn't mean that it's not definitive.
I think that's good.
I think I would like to see are required to notify the superintendent's office, and I would like to add in no later than 5 days in advance. I think the original thing, it says just 5 days in advance. I mean, it doesn't, you're encouraged in 5 days in advance. I mean, it's open-ended, and I think we need some more definitive language to give direction that can be non-argumentative. That being said, on number 2, citizens who wish to address the school board, I kind of played with the language here just a little bit because I think there's a difference between suggesting an item to be put on the agenda per A1 versus if you want to sign up for public input in general. So I said, citizens who wish to address the school board on an agenda item, subject may speak during the discussion of that item that was requested under A1 or may address the agenda item under visitor input if it's not something that they request. I don't really feel like everything that I've kind of read about and we're trained about visitor input is that it's not a, once the board goes in the meeting and you're doing the business of the board, it's not really appropriate for the public to engage in conversation outside of the public input time. And unless maybe we're opening it up to where they could add a subject and maybe they could come and speak to that subject because they requested it, but if they didn't request it and they just want to speak to an item, I think they have to go through the visitor input thing versus being able to speak during our meeting. Does that make sense?
I think that's good.
And then I also put in parentheses, see open forum criteria, and then at the last, under section C on the second page, I just generically kind of added in about the third sentence down, citizen who wishes to address the board under visitor input is required to notify the superintendent's office. Again, I just changed that language from encouraged. And obviously we'd have to go through and look at 206 a little bit. And if need be, I did edit a copy for myself and I can send it to Jeff and you guys can get a copy, but I mean, I agree with Mark. I think it should be kind of limited to comments and not discussion. I mean, that's everything that we've been trained as far as public input.
It feels like we need a policy committee meeting to sit down and hammer out this one. This is the only one that seems to really generate a lot of concern so that we have the language clear enough that we're not infringing on anyone's rights to participate and still protecting the integrity of the meeting.
Well, that being said, how does this work tonight? Is this a first reading tonight, or?
You said that.
I said,
I mean,
tonight.
I know she's, like you said, that
I thought I said tonight.
Tonight.
My,
Is it tonight?
that Iron Ranger came on, sorry. What, I said, what are we doing tonight? She ain't listening anyway.
This is the first reading.
So do we have to take 206 out of this because it's the first reading, or can we
No.
edit them as we go?
We can make changes up until the final approval.
Because then there's a second reading, and if you don't like the second reading, then you can just keep going.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we can still tentatively.
Why not just have a policy meeting on the 19th also, yeah?
Yeah.
So Jeff has my copy, if you guys want it, Jeff can
Yeah.
send it out to everybody, and then Mark, what you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
just marked up is what we pretty much, your idea? Okay.
I think you and I are pretty much the same thinking on
I
it.
think we're on the same,
Yeah.
people are on the same
Did
track.
anybody else have any more thoughts?
I agree with the changes. Yeah. I was looking through it, but
I like the comments part versus the discussion, I like that,
Yes.
sink in me when, it's kind of worded that way on the public participation with the different in 206, so it's good that you caught that, because it makes a difference.
Big
mhm.
difference.
Difference between controlling and losing control.
Yes.
Okay, so we will do that. Now we'll move on with, unless there's any more.
Do we need to approve the first reading to make a
You
motion?
approve,
Yeah.
you approve the first reading on all of them at the same time. So if you have any other ones that you want to specify, we can talk about those, but other than that, then we just need a motion for the
Just for the
first
whole
reading for
thing?
all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody want any of these pulled out separately? On 11.6?
No, I think that was the only one that we all had
Yeah,
input that we wanted.
206, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but we can still approve that one, so we need a motion to
Yep.
approve the first reading of the policies A through J, 206, 209, 401, 402, 407, 412, 417, 418, 419, and 420.
I'll move.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mona, second by Mark. Well, any more discussion on these? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11.7, closed session for superintendent evaluation. You want to do the superintendent's report first? Either way,
You
we're
still gotta vote on that. You
Oh,
need a motion.
I'm sorry,
The cart and the horse key. Cart and the horse.
yeah,
I'll move.
okay, closed session.
support.
Mona and Leon. Any other discussion? It was going so smooth. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries
For the closed session.
for the closed session.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
That's okay, we understand.
Oh, that's okay, so did I.
Our chair didn't get it, so you're okay, Mark.
So you want to do the superintendent
Just the way you
information
sit over there.
first, before we do the closed session, or?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
I just have a couple things for you. One, of course, at the last meeting, we agreed to post for principal, and we did just that. And surprisingly enough, we have lots of applicants coming in.
Good.
It closes on the 18th. We will start interviewing the week of the 23rd, and we'll let you know how it goes.
Are they all licensed as they apply?
Nope.
Oh. I shouldn't have even asked. That's just,
You have to
You
ask.
get all kinds.
You get all kinds.
well, I mean,
But there's lots of them this time, which
And
is,
they're all working
Something
for their
new for
license,
us.
so.
are they qualified? Or is that what we'll be?
I said we have lots of applicants, Mike.
I'm so excited for this process to start.
Oh, okay.
You have no idea.
Mm.
So I want to talk a little bit, so at the last meeting, we also switched up architects. I met with ARI several days this week. They did walkthroughs. I handed them a couple trees of stuff that we'd already done. They spent the rest of this last week and this week they're pouring through what's already been done. They're gonna come on the 23rd and basically summarize what they have learned to this point where we're at and try to get some direction as to specifically where they need to head. Well, they'll give you what my version of where we need to head. And if anyone disagrees or whatnot, then that'll be the time for that input. I'm real happy so far with the engagement that we've had with that group. And not last thing. So I've talked lots about fiber that used to be and needs to happen again. We actually found out that when that initial fiber was run throughout the district, that they also purchased a fiber testing kit. We found the testing kit, and it's not too bad as far as testing it. And lots of the stuff, and Tom has been running around using it. Basically, all you have to do is you shine a light on one end of it, and if you can see it on the other end of the line, it's pretty good depending on how much light is on there. The good news is, out of that, there are lots of lines that are busted and shot, but they're most of the short runs. The long run that we were most concerned about from here to the Franklin is actually still a good line. So we're gonna have someone put some ends on that thing and fire it up in the next couple of weeks. So that's pretty exciting. Give that a shot. Last thing, I gave you a little flyer here, recharge the range. If you're interested, you have the information in front of you. If you're not, you still have the information in front of you. That's what I have.
Can I ask about ARI quick?
Go ahead.
When they come with the 23rd, we pretty much shared everything we've done with them, basically.
I've shared
right?
everything that we've done.
We're down to 2 options at the very end with the SDW. Am I mistaken that we agreed to 2 options there?
I thought we were down to 3.
I thought it was 3.
Well, either way, I mean, is that something that they could take with a grain of salt and kind of have some information on 2, or were they just gonna come in and, based on your recommendation, and pitch where they're at based on the information we have? Or
They're gonna tell you where they're at right now and kind of just reaffirm that this is where we're going, and they might even have some, they've done a pretty extensive study of, they did walk around, so they did an actual visual, and they've seen the reports on what's good, what's bad, and I think you'll have some basic drawings as to what it might look like for those 3 options that we had previously kind of agreed upon.
And now we have a demographic study to go into it all too, so that's a big deal.
Yeah, and then the first meeting in June, I think you'll have some pretty solid pieces of paper in front of you as far as design of all those 3 options, once they get through that first one on the board. And then it'll start getting specific. They're actually they're looking at our transportation, where we're at now.
ARI is?
Yeah, they've requested transportation information from us, and they're gonna start looking at the various models and what that would cost to get the kids to those places.
Will that include some of the efficiencies that Randy will be looking at once the school year's done? Or
Well, not right now. I mean, they're looking at, where we're at right now, what we're spending right now, as opposed to what would it look like if, say, everyone was in there with it. Because I think ultimately you're gonna need to see maps of, it's gonna come down to how many miles we put on the buses at the end of the day, regardless of where you go, because we know how much it costs us per mile. And so, I mean, there's one option, reducing that amount of miles or making it more, or whatever it happens. And that's what they're trying to put to paper. So I think it should be coming pretty fast and furious here pretty soon. So I would anticipate pretty good information by the end of July.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Okay, thank you. Board member topics. Who started last time?
I didn't start.
we'll make Leon start.
We'll make you start this time.
No, I don't have nothing for tonight.
Okay. Mark?
Only thing I have is our 4th graders are pretty good rappers. During the concert, their last song, I guess they wrote their own rap lyrics.
Oh.
Did a good job with it. The whole concert was fun.
They were picking on me, I was offended, my feeling got hurt.
With one feeling, right?
Is it televised?
The one that's left.
Yeah, I think so.
Mike took care of the rest of them.
Okay, anything else?
I didn't
Bill?
tell them that.
Okay, Lorna?
One thing, at one of our recent meetings, and I don't recall, I think it was a committee meeting, we had a party show up, set up a camera, leave some bags behind, and then just disappeared. We don't know if they were in the building or if they had left or what was going on. I think in light of everyone's awareness of building security and safety, I think it's ridiculous for us to tolerate anyone coming in, parking their equipment and leaving. I think that's an issue. Homeland Security calls it, if you see something, say something, and they very clearly identify not just the bags, but even the equipment as things that we should be alarmed if someone does that. And Homeland Security even goes on to say, even if it's someone that you know, it shouldn't be trusted. That people in today's age should know to stay with their stuff. I don't know what we can do about it. I just think it's ridiculous that anyone would do that and leave us sort of holding the bag. I guess that's a pun, but
Literally.
you know, if our meeting had ended abruptly, we were sitting here with someone else's equipment and their personal belongings. So I want to know how we should go forward. I think we need to make it clear that we don't tolerate that, and if someone starts to leave, that we, I don't know.
I mean, I agree, I mean, I would say, just to continue on to your topic, is that, I would suggest anybody that leaves personal property in unattended, that we ask the superintendent to lock it up in his office, because we shouldn't be responsible for overseeing someone's personal property in an open forum like this. I mean, if somebody else came in to take it, I mean, would we be liable for somebody else taking that property? I think
It's not our property.
Well, and if it's someone with less than honorable intentions, and that's not regarding the situation that occurred, but moving forward, you know, we could be putting the building and certainly the personnel in the building in extreme jeopardy by looking the other way and just thinking, well, it's a small town, that stuff doesn't happen. But if you look at some of the horrible things that have happened, they've happened in small towns. You know, and everybody, when they interview them later, they all say, I can't believe it happened here, and we could be the next one by tolerating it. I just think it's a bad practice to look the other way.
Well, the whole thing is we teach kids possession is a big deal, right? Even if it's, somebody gives you something to hold and it's not yours, it's still your responsibility, right? I mean, we shouldn't be responsible for somebody else's personal property, whether it's dangerous or not dangerous, it's still, the district would be responsible if we.
But we don't know,
something like that.
you never know someone's motives.
Right.
And if they leave equipment behind you, you know, in this case, you're aware that the camera's there, but you don't know what those bags might have contained. And I think to just ignore it is a mistake.
Right,
I agree.
yes.
Yes. And if we have to have a
I wish I
policy-
could have brought an answer for you, but I haven't. I don't know what we need to do to prevent that from occurring.
I mean, is that a policy thing, or is that just something we ask the chair to address unattended items in the room and?
I think we should actually make it a policy, because it could change from one board chair to the other. That's my take on it.
Do you know of something like that, Jeff, that we could implement, or as part of something else?
I did look at the sample policies. I didn't see
No, there isn't
anything.
one in the sample policy, but that doesn't mean that that's
No, I mean,
a bit wrong.
just kind of direction of where it could be inserted or plugged in, you know. We have to make a whole new policy, or we could just attach it to something else that's already on the books.
Just a school board policy, or a school district policy.
That's what they
Remember
are.
now, if you're gonna make a policy, you have to enforce it. You gotta make a policy that is enforceable. And if we do that, then we have to stick to it. So, because it doesn't make any sense making a policy.
Well, I mean, to my point about possession, we have so many
Oh, yeah.
tobacco and drug use and firearm and knives. I mean, we have so many different possession policies. I mean, we could just
Yeah,
extend one of these current policies
To include that.
to include something else, you know, just, it doesn't have to fit in the category, it could just be unattended personal property and, you know, and it is what it is.
If we
Just so
can-
you are aware, I mean, we do have in our crisis manual, which is not school board policy, obviously, but it is adopted by, there is a section in there that addresses unattended bags. If it was during the school day, we'd go into a lockdown and call the police to search it, so.
That's what most public buildings would do, and that's what's strongly recommended. They don't ask that citizens make the decision as to whether or not something is a danger.
It just is. If it's
You make the
unattended.
presumption that it is until someone with the authority to declare it safe does so.
Is that based on just when school hours or any kids are in the building? I mean,
It doesn't specify school hours necessarily, but it just, I mean, it's probably assumed that during school hours, but it doesn't.
but I'm just saying, we have
We have
extracurriculars
students
all night.
here, yeah, and we have students who attend our meetings. I think anytime the building is in use,
It's
perhaps.
Public school building, yeah. I mean,
Is that,
You could go with that, I mean, I could send you a copy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be,
I'd appreciate that.
But in lieu of locking down the school, I mean, how would we address something? Do you have to call the local police?
Well, I'll tell you what
and-
though, if a couple of times you have to lock down the building, you know, I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't think we should be looking the other way
I
all
would
the
assume
time.
when the police come that they would take it into evidence, so there'd be a process to
Absolutely, but then it's not on us. I mean, it's,
Is that a criminal offense? I mean, with the
I
Homeland
would
Security?
think only with, if it's found to
If
be.
it was in the bag, it probably would.
If there's malice or something behind it, probably.
But I think you know, we've talked at length over the years about
security.
our concern for the security of the building and the safety of our staff and students. And I think if we continue to look the other way just because somebody says, well, you know me, I think that's doing a disservice to the whole process. So I'd like to see that language so we
Yeah.
can, maybe could we address that at our
The
other
policy.
meetings?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Abuse happens with people that know each other. I mean,
Yes. Yep. Okay. Mike?
Nothing really, I'll just, because this is the meeting and I voted against the whole program, it really wasn't personal, it was a budgetary item, and I think hopefully it'll be a good thing for kids, but I mean, I just thought it was
Next week, we're gonna come with the dream program, so you can be a dream killer.
I'm a whole killer attitude. Well, I've been told that I'm not here about kids, so here I am, right?
Kill hope.
There, I proved it tonight for all
That's
the
right.
skeptics. I'm just gonna put my kids down tonight when I go to home and say, you're never gonna make it through school now.
And then make sure you're part of the PTA to,
Thanks for that,
recoup
Jeff.
some of that.
Thanks, Mona, for bringing that back up.
yeah, sure, no problem. I got a note right here. It says, Mike, PTA. See Jeff.
Andrea and I, all the way. I'm taking you down with me.
Down or up?
Down.
You gotta run bingo next year.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Mike?
Nope.
Okay. Tom?
No, nothing at this time.
Okay. You want to take a quick little break, and then we'll go into closed session. And we're going to recess now until we come back in. No, you're fine. Closed session, we'll come back in, then we'll come out of closed session and actually adjourn the meeting after that, so. Thank you.